So Anthony Joshua knocks out some random nobody Saturday night, and the mainstream liberal press go absolutely crazy for this online. Across the board, Twitter profiles from combat sport accounts are lit up with this guy is the baddest guy in town. But when you scratch the surface and you start reading the comments, the consensus is, no, not really. Come back to us when you beat Fury, when you beat Wilder, when you beat Usyk. Until then, you're just another low IQ racist.
People may not understand this, but he was like, when Lomachenko was like, you're strong. I took it disrespectfully because in football, I see a lot of commentators say that a lot of African players are just strong. They don't ever talk about their talent. So I found it disrespectful when he mentioned I was strong. I kind of looked at it and I thought, for me as an African, I found that like you're trying to belittle me as someone that's hard working. So that's kind of how I interpreted that, and that's why I kind of got a bit vexed.
Are you serious?
When you're talking about activist fighters like Anthony Joshua or Israel Adesanya, they're constantly looking at the edge of their seat for an opportunity to play the victim card. Of course, the motivation to make money is always going to be there. The exhilaration of playing the victim probably outweighs that to a certain extent with these guys. It's not some big secret or conspiracy that Anthony Joshua holds white people in low regard. We've seen it ourselves in his leaked direct messages on Instagram. Here you have Eddie Chambers on Twitter. Now all of a sudden I'm a disgrace to the black race. And he's aiming this at Anthony Joshua because Joshua had sent him a private message that said, real ones move in silence. You done too much talking. You're a bum. You're a disgrace to the superior black race. And we know that Eddie Hearn and Joshua ran damage control after this and said that they were hacked. But there's actually a video online if you go and look it up. He's not hacked. It's coming from his account. 4 million followers. Impossible for it to be hacked. So again, in situations like this, what I usually say is let's play the game of what would happen if this was a white person who said this. How do you think sports media and mainstream media would like it if a white person was out there talking about supremacy in the same regard and the same context as Anthony Joshua? Or what about when he said this?
Show them where it hurts. Abstain from spending your money in their shops and in economies and invest in black-owned businesses.
So there you have him encouraging his people to boycott white stores, to only shop in black stores. I know he went down the lines of saying that I didn't actually write this speech. It was written by somebody else and I was just regurgitating it. You're telling me that he doesn't believe in this exact message? And in the aftermath, as we'll get to, you'll see that he was extremely proud of this message. But just reverse the roles here for a second. If this was a white fighter that was saying this, the media would go to town on them. You'd probably end up losing or relinquishing your belt. You probably would be cancelled instantly and never ever to return to the mainstream. If this was a white fighter that said, okay, all you white people out there, I want you to boycott black stores. So again, let's just play the game of reversing the roles. So why hasn't he been cancelled for that specific statement, that derogatory, that discriminatory statement? Well, it's probably because he's holding hands with Black Lives Matter and he's Anthony Joshua, the poster boy for mainstream cuck liberals. So what you get is radio silence across the board. One person wasn't happy with it. He spoke out. Tyson Fury is critical of Anthony Joshua's bullshit statement at the Black Lives Matter protest. Tyson Fury wasn't too fond of Joshua's speech at the recent Black Lives Matter protest in England and called his remarks bullshit, which they are. During the speech, Joshua suggested that attendees abstain from spending their money in shops and economies and invest in black-owned businesses. While many cheered, others called Joshua out for being racist. Among his critics were Fury, who addressed Joshua's speech behind the gloves. So Fury outlined his disgust with such a sentiment coming from Anthony Joshua, and he outlined it very articulately here. And how did Anthony Joshua respond to the criticism, not only from Tyson Fury, but from a very large number of people online who felt the exact same way? How did he respond to that? Let me see. Oh yeah, he said, go fuck yourself. That's what Anthony Joshua said. Anthony Joshua hits back at criticism over Black Lives protest speech. So that's how he feels about offending white people. You can go fuck yourself. Okay. That's where we're at. Now we understand where we're coming from with this whole situation. I think if you look at the interactions within the MMA community and the combat sports community in general, you will see that it really does embody the socio-political change that we're all experiencing at the moment. Every facet of our culture and our society has been infected with cultural Marxism, identity politics, and an incessant anti-white rhetoric. I think that every dog on the street knows that the psychology of young white children is under attack and has been for a long time. These children, as young as 4, all the way up until adulthood, until the college life begins, are being taught that they are inherently evil oppressors. This is definitely not good for the mind because we can see it in our culture. We can see it when we walk outside. The majority of teenagers are just confused. They're not comfortable in their own bodies. Their identity has been stripped and targeted from a young age. I mean, here in Ireland, we literally just got out from under the boot of 700 years of oppression. Now our Marxist government and our educational system have implemented new curriculum teaching white children that they are privileged. White Irish children whose grandparents quite possibly could have been living under this oppression are now being told that because of the colour of their skin and the fact that they're Irish, that they have some sort of privilege. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That's why I have to highlight the anti-white rhetoric from Anthony Joshua, Israel Adesanya. Because if we don't point it out now, and we don't call this shit out now, then all is lost. We have already lost a generation of young people. Their minds are absolutely and utterly putty. But it's not just them who have been indoctrinated. If we look at the age bracket of Anthony Joshua, Israel Adesanya, they too have been infected. They see something like Black Lives Matter, which completely and utterly embodies fragility and screeching and ranting and being aggressive. This coupled with the motivation to be victims, it's a no-brainer. That's why we see these guys out there ranting and raving. I see this pretty much every day, especially here in Ireland. Europeans get out on the street and they protest about mass uncontrolled migration. Automatically you are hit with politicians and media members saying that this is dangerous far-right rhetoric. This speech is going to lead to violence. That's what they say, and it must be stopped on all accounts. Here in Ireland we have hate speech bills where the police can come to your door, rip you out, put you in prison for mean tweets. If a white guy robs the corner store, gets into a fight with the police and ends up dying, he's a statistic. If a black guy does the exact same thing, well, this would inspire protests and t-shirts, hashtags, riots and widespread violence. Where's the consistency? How is that fair? And if you look at the comments from Israel Adesanya, Anthony Joshua, you see how they offer their support to this type of terrorism on the streets. It's obvious that there's a deep-rooted hatred for the very people who welcomed them in, who gave them refuge, who support them, who their fans are, who their sponsors are. They have no problem taking your money, but be under no illusion, they hate you. And if we look at the Dricus Du Plessis Israel Adesanya beef, Dricus was constantly talking about geography, and Israel couldn't handle it. First of all, he went for the ad hominem route and then quickly deviated over to the race route because that's what was always at the back of his mind. This is textbook inferiority behavior from Israel. He's threatened and actually hates Dricus because of the colour of his skin. Would this anger not be better directed at the African nations which he fled from, like many other people, because they were incapable of running their own nations? Would the anger not be directed at them? Why hold the flag so high and be so proud of a place that you would never ever live? So I guess it's lucky that you have this big bad white wolf that you can actually lay all your blame at and be a victim of, right? What Israel Adesanya and Anthony Joshua really are cowards. Plain and simple. Everybody can see that these two guys are racist. Have the guts and go hard, like your predecessors did. And they did it with complete and utter confidence. And people were shocked, but it was the truth. And that's what we're trying to get to here. The truth.
Because I don't think I'm any different from you see.
Yeah, we much different.
I mean, I think society's made us different.
You know we're different. We all together.
But society's made us different.
No, not society. God made us different. I'd rather go and be my own. I have a beautiful daughter, beautiful wife. They look like me. We're all happy, and I don't have no trouble.